So how many people in Syria? Do you know how many people in Syria have been killed so
Uh,
far? What's the max estimate? Because I know CNN confirmed 800, but remember we saw that video and 1,200 people were killed just there.
yeah, I've been purposely not really looking into it because I know I'm just gonna get freaking pissed off
Yeah.
even more than I already am. Um, and so at least the project we're kind of working on behind the scenes isn't a very good one for me to work on if I don't want to get angry because
Yeah,
it's
that's a good
literally
point.
targeting this exact
The whole thing.
problem.
Keep your eyes and ears open in the next 2 months or so. I think
Yeah.
we're gonna have a cool tally, and yeah, you'll understand more of. But it is on this topic. Click on that link real quick, and I think that gives us a better estimate of what the current totals are. For those of you who don't know, Bashar al-Assad, who was kind of the ruler of Syria, one thing that people forget, just for some context, is that Syria actually used to be Christian before the Islamic invasions. So Christian Syria was invaded. One of the tactics that Islamists in the beginning did, they didn't necessarily just kill everybody who wasn't Christian at first. They put taxes on people who weren't, right? Or vice versa. So you'd basically have a better position in tax incentives if you were Muslim. So that helped, shift, what we call the lukewarm group, which was a decent amount, but it still wasn't that many. And over the years, it's just been extremism, and they've whittled down the Christian numbers over time to a point now where, how many does it estimate?
Here's saying over 1,000 people, many of them women and children, and entire families were massacred in western Syria.
Yep. And I've seen one video with 1,200, and I've seen a couple other ones with hundreds of others. So it's gonna be thousands, because this one does say thousands. It says in just 2 days. So I assume that the killing's just continuing. So headline says thousands of Syrians dead, Christian Syrians. So either way, why did this begs a very good question. Anytime there's instability in these countries, a lot of Christians die. Why? Because Muslims and Islamists do typically, Winston Churchill said it best. He said, Islam was born upon the sword, right? So that's the concept. It was born upon killing and conquest. So therefore, if it has its actual roots, it will do that. So anyway. We got a big screen here, by the way. That's probably why I just lit up like a Christmas tree. But I like it. Anyway, back to the Syria thing. So what happens when instability, especially in the Middle East, a lot of people die. A lot of Christians die. And yeah, it's just really horrific. So either way, Bashar al-Assad, who was kind of the dictator of Syria, kept everybody in good shape. He was kind of, he was a rough guy.
I wouldn't say good shape, but I get the point you're trying to make.
There wasn't mass killings.
Yeah.
He didn't deal with ISIS. He didn't put up with ISIS. ISIS was a no-go. They claimed he was gassing his own people. That was later debunked. It was definitely a U.S. and Israeli propaganda arm that's going, oh, we got to go in there. We got to take out Bashar al-Assad. The main reason that you say, well, why would America even be in Syria? That's a good question, Cody. That's a very good question. So Israel does want the southern part. They may even want up to Damascus, but they've already taken the buffer region. They kind of, you remember, in the Bible, Damascus and all these things. If you look at Netanyahu's Greater Israel, he includes a lot of Syria in what he defines as Israel. So either way, the U.S. helps Israel overthrow the government of Syria. We've been trying to do that for years. Bashar al-Assad falls, so now a bunch of ISIS groups are taking over the country. It's going to be a big problem because what's happening is Turkey is a major hammer in the Islamic world. They're very powerful, and they're in NATO, but yet they're Islamists, right? They're Muslim. So it's a very odd situation. So either way, if Turkey decides to invade into Syria and go deep, this could be a powder keg. If Turkey decides to go south into Syria, this is going to be a massive problem. They've already gone into Syria, but if they go deep south and Israel goes north, if Israel and Turkey exchange, it's such a war. Now, obviously, by treaty, guess what? The U.S. has to attack Israel. How many people think that's going to happen? No, we will literally destroy a NATO ally. We will nuke them. We will nuke them for Israel. So anyway, your sons and daughters will go die for that cause. So it's pretty cool. The world's a great place, but the worst part is that the Christians are just getting slaughtered there. Absolutely slaughtered. It's just horrific. Just horrific. So anyway, really sad. Currently thousands. I hope that the country comes to some sort of kind of peace. I'm curious what your thought is, Cody. Do you really think that the U.S. should be protecting Christians abroad? What's your thought process? Because the Israeli Alliance for America is thought, for instance, Charlie Kirk has said this before, and he's starting to deviate a little bit from this, but his whole thought is that God's people are Israel, right? So therefore we have a responsibility to protect them. Okay, I know that's really summarizing what he's saying, but that's what his point is. What is your thoughts on that? And what should the U.S. protect Christians abroad?
So you're kind of making the opposite point of Charlie Kirk, or you're asking the opposite question of the point that Charlie Kirk is making with not the Jew aspect, but the Israeli aspect, but the Christians
as God's people.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because we disagree on who God's people are. I believe it's Christians. I believe that if Christ is your king, you are a Christian. You are in the kingdom. If you believe that Christ is burning, and you believe in the Talmud that came in after, and you believe that all these horrific, evil things, you will go to hell. Am I wrong? Am I based so far?
No.
Is that based? Okay. So no, I'm not based? Or
sorry.
Okay.
I saw a notification come through, and I was reading that.
Okay.
So
yes, based.
yes.
Okay.
We'll go with that.
All right. So based. So, but let's kind of zoom out, because I know me and you both agree that Charlie Kirk's totally off on that. Like, yeah. Anyway, but do you believe? And Charlie Kirk, I actually like him. He's starting to come more to our side, which is awesome. Good for him. He needs, as he learns and as he kind of becomes more in Christ, I think he will kind of have his eyes opened up. However, do you believe that the U.S. has a responsibility to protect God's people abroad? This is where it kind of comes into.
Well, is the U.S. a Christian nation? I mean, that's kind of the...
Oh, this goes back to a big debate. Yeah, let's go. Yeah,
that's kind of the thing is, like, a lot of people would argue that the U.S. was not founded as a Christian nation, but, I mean, we have Christian documents and, Christian morality riddled throughout the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and stuff like that. And I would say...
So let me ask you a different
majority or... all of the founding fathers were Christian of some sort.
Yeah, I think like some of them may have been like one or two may have been like not really that religious. They might have been agnostic or something, but majority of them, were Christian of some sort. Let me ask you a different question. Let's say the premise of, let's say America, let's debate that a little bit here in a second, but let's say America is a Christian country. Do you think we have that responsibility to protect God's people abroad if we're a Christian nation?
I think from a moral standpoint, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, from a moral standpoint, as Christians, we should be doing what we can to protect anybody, whether they're Christian or not.
Yeah.
That is a very wide and broad spectrum. I think where you start to maybe have somewhat of a different argument is when you can't protect or take care of the people within your own home.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And as America, that's our home. We live here. And if our own government, or ourselves included, can't protect the people in our, you want to call family within, we may have a responsibility. Some could say we may have a responsibility to protect Christians abroad, but if we can't even do it here,
yeah.
I don't know. I think there's like a crossroad there, and we have to figure out.
No, I agree with you. Because, like, the concept is, if you don't have your house in order, how can you go spread, whatever you have, right? If we spread out what we have been. It's been training.
Yeah. My response didn't really address what you asked, because I think there's still, just because your home is in order doesn't mean you still don't have a responsibility.
Yeah.
Elsewhere.
Do you see the problem here?
It's a problem.
It's hard because you're going to put your nation in a worse spot. right?
Yeah.
So as a king, like let's think about it. It's easier to think about it as a king, right? Because the honest truth is that the U.S. government should operate on what's best for the American people. It doesn't. It hates Christians. It hates us. It's one of the worst institutions. Ooh, man, I'm going a little crazy today.
Man,
There's nothing the U.S. government loves more than dead Christians, and I do believe that. I genuinely do. Majority of people within the organization that we'll call our government, which is sad and horrible. But
and what's the percentage of that are not Christians within our government? I will say that. I'm not going to go for it.
You were going for it, but like the Star of David, where is it? It just like comes in. Oh, we just see a little hologram outside. We're like, the devil's near.
We just see a hellfire just like on the horizon.
I'm like, oh, great, here comes Netanyahu. No, but yeah. No. And so anyway, the main concept being if our government was actually good and it went for the what's best for the American people, that's what a government should do. Should you, as a king, say, I know it's probably not the best for my own people financially to go and help the Christians in Syria, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
You're giving money. You're giving probably military. You may put yourself in a position where you get in a war with Israel or Turkey, right? Because you're like, no, we're not going to allow you to give weapons to these people because they're killing Christians. And if you do so, there will be consequences, right? Is that the responsibility of a Christian, you as a Christian, government? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's a difference between saying, I'm a nationalist, that's all great, right? I do what's best for my people, 100%. But what happens if you are a Christian?
Yeah.
If your government is Christian, do you have that responsibility?
Yeah.
Do you think so? Like I'm curious. If you're king, do you have that as a responsibility, and do you do that? Do you put your own nation in a position where it may be worse off but protect Christians? I'm curious. I'm genuinely like.
I mean, that's. I feel like there's no right answer for that.
It's hard
because it's like a catch-22 where, as a king, you have a responsibility to your home, to your people.
But as a Christian, you have a responsibility to Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? I've actually thought about this quite a bit, and it's
rough.
It's a very hard thing, right? And the best.
Well, yeah, I think I don't mean to cut you off, but it goes back to kind of. I don't necessarily think it's. I think in that case, it's hard to be like a hard line. We would like, this is what you have, this is what you do, this is what you don't do.
Yeah.
I think it has to come down to if you're the king. I mean, thank the Lord, I don't have to make this decision because I'm not a king. But if you're the king and this conundrum comes up, I think that's between you and the Lord. That has to, because it's like if you, it's a hard decision because if you know that by the direct involvement in said foreign situation is going to directly affect your homeland, how can you make that call like so clearly? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you're like, okay, the Lord is going to judge me for this, or I'm going to be judged at the end time for this, then you obviously need to do what the Lord's telling you.
Even if it's not popular, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's literally, you read the entire Bible.
Daniel.
There's things throughout the entire Bible that were never popular, that would never be popular, but...
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah.
Everybody's bowed down. And I mean, that's kind of how I see it. Everybody's bowed down at the altar of globalism.
Yeah.
And Satan.
Yeah.
And now it's like, no, how about we look around like, no, I'm a nationalist who actually happens to be Christian. None of this is cool.
Yeah.
Burn that thing down. Like.
Yeah, and I love how Tucker Carlson puts it. He's just like, don't assume what I think. He's like, I'll just tell you what I think.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can point things out for being wrong because they are wrong. He's like, I don't like any dead Christians. He's like, I don't like any dead people. I can point that out as wrong. Like the killing, whether they're Christians or Muslim or atheist or Hindu or Buddhist, he's like, the ending of lives on a massacre on a large scale, that's wrong. Yeah. And I'm going to say that's wrong. And anybody that doesn't say that's wrong, I think has a real problem.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what religion they are. It's like if you're going in and just offing people
and saying, collateral damage.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like
God help you.
whether Russia or Ukraine is in the right, the ending of 100,000 lives according to Russian numbers for them, the estimates in Ukrainians are in the millions, 1.2 million or 1.5 million, whatever the case may be. Ukraine will never admit that. Whatever the number is, as a Christian, both of that's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just, it's wrong. Because, I mean, even though people are evil and, throughout time, we're told that Christ mourns even for the death of an evil person.
Yeah.
Like, because that's a soul lost. Obviously, we can't lament on that and yada, yada, yada. But it still pains him that that person never chose him.
Yeah. Yep.
And so anyway, that's just kind of a tangent. But
and that's the dichotomy. That's the hard part between being king and being Christian.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's actually. Do you think that's one of the reasons why? Me and you, we were raised in Christian, more conservative side of things. Do you think that's one of the reasons why people shoot so low? Like they don't. At least when I was growing up, you may have had a different experience, but like. You don't really want to become a politician. You don't really want to become president. Like, that was almost frowned upon. It was like, no, you don't. It was almost even to be that involved in politics. It was very much of like, kind of like the Amish, actually. It's kind of funny when you think about it. But do you think it honestly is that kind of concept of like, there's going to be some hard decisions to be made? Because me and you talking about this, if you're in that position, nobody wants that position. I mean, that's why Solomon says, with much wisdom, and he kind of goes over all the decisions he has to make. He's like, it's immeasurable sadness. It's I mean,
and that's the thing. I think there's a lot of in Revelation, Christ talks about basically spitting out the church of Laodicea because he's absolutely has disgust for them, and those that don't know Revelation, Laodicean church is like the lukewarm Christians. Like they're neither hot nor cold. They are just like right in the middle. They like just show up to church. Kind of do quotes do the bare minimum, say they're a Christian, but what does that really mean?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people like that, and myself included. It's like you just kind of go through the paces, but you try your best to avoid, the really hard stuff.
Yeah.
And being a Christian isn't easy. We know that though, and that we should
embrace
right? The difficulties of that. Yeah.
Because I kind of feel like one of the main concepts is that let's avoid it because it comes with a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's easier, right?
But that's like an oxymoron.
It's like, no. Paul says, die every day. You're a slave, right? And all these things. It's like, it's because it's going to be harder than everyone else.
And I mean, you read the Gospels, Christ's life wasn't easy.
Oh my gosh.
It's far from easy.
Yeah. What is he like? King of the Jews when they crucified him as a mock, because they saw this man as like, it's just horrible. And you hear like, I'm not going to say it's going to make me angry, but Ben Shapiro's take on, what Christ was. And he was like, he was just a Jew who, had a spot with the Romans and got killed for his trouble. That's a direct quote. Killed for his trouble. Uprising against the Romans. And I'm just like, anyway. But no. So I think that's one major problem in Christianity is that there is no sense of responsibility to not only perform but to outperform everyone, right? And not to I don't want that because it's responsibility. I would to say no, I'm not going to have that position because I'm going to have to make hard choices. Like that's not what builds cultures. That's not when God said be fruitful and multiply and go subdue the earth. Do you think that's subduing the earth? No, that's being a coward. That's the direct correlation or the direct meaning of bravery is stepping out into the unknown. If you know what's going to happen, if you're in your own lane and and you're predictable, you have zero bravery. And I see that, that the faith chapter, that's why everybody's always confused by it. Samson, all these guys like that are named as the men with the faith. It's like, well, I mean, these guys were like not ideal, what I would say, models to model after, but apparently, right? And I think it really does kind of come down to that. Don't run away from responsibility, especially if you're a young guy. If you're a young girl, find a young guy who has the same exact mindset, that's not afraid of responsibility, that does not take that kind of old Christian mindset of, Jordan Peterson had a great thing on this in which he dove into the Beatitudes, and it talks about, meekness, right? And how he says the translation of the word is not what we think of meekness, right? He's like, if you go directly, it means to be capable. And I think the direct translation was to have a sword, but to keep it sheathed, right? And the concept was not out of anger, right? So when you have a rash moment, don't use force if it's not needed, right? So don't be cruel. Don't be cruel. And because guess what? You reap what you sow. If you're cruel, so cruelty will come into you. So I really do think that that was kind of a beautiful thought. Kind of when I actually studied it, I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, meekness doesn't mean like, I think of like a little guy in the corner, I think of like a little Christian guy. He's just in the corner and he's
well, I mean, that's how we were
defeated.
raised, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, hey, if you're a man, be whipped by your woman. Your woman runs the household.
That's a little extreme.
Your woman runs the household. Dude, we know people like this.
Yeah, but that wasn't. To be clear to the listeners,
that
wasn't. Yeah, that wasn't like.
It was implied. It was implied heavily. But no, I mean, that actually is, and I don't think this is true for a lot of Christian faiths, but you see, vast majority of people underperform comparative to, even just immigrants from Nigeria, coming here or whatnot. It's funny, but no, I think I think that's directly what it is. I think that we were kind of taught that responsibility is actually kind of bad. And it's like, well, you don't want that position because you have to make hard decisions. It's like, yeah, that's part of the game, right?
I mean, do you remember? So we're Adventists. We've said that before. But do you remember when the 2016 election rolled around and Ben Carson, which is he's a pretty famous Adventist, was running for president?
Big Daddy B.
And I remember our world church leaders. I'm not sure if it was the world church level, but I think it was the NAD.
A lot. Condemned.
Like wrote him a letter and stuff and was like, step down, don't be running. This brings too much attention to the Adventist church. And it's like, okay, that is a load of crap. Okay, so what if it does? Like, isn't this the point? Like, if we as Adventists, as Christians, believe that we hold the truth, and shouldn't we be doing everything possible to spread that truth?
No.
Oh,
that's not the goal. Come on, bro. You didn't get the memo? The memo is to rent crap and make money. No, but no, I do get your point. Like it's in direct conflict to like one of these people that the average church like idolizes, like Wycliffe, right? Who's literally an ambassador for the king, right? Is so renowned in his whole nation that everybody's like, man, that guy. I mean, you're talking about if we wish he could be king, right? But it's a monarchy, and he converts 1 in 2 people. Yeah. And even Ellen White goes on and on and on about him, and it's like, okay, like why are you scaring away from it? The reason they're scaring away from it is the direct concept of there's responsibility in that, and if he chooses any political means, if he says I want to defend Christians abroad, that's not an Adventist position. Right. Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? It just the whole concept of there's separation of church and state, so therefore Christians should have no power. That's the concept. The concept is they say yes, the church and state should be separate, but also no Christians should be in state, right? And no Christians should be in positions of power, and no Christians should. And then all of a sudden we're like, why are there trans people dancing in front of kids? Well, the Christians ran. You ran away from the fight, right? What happened when Elijah when he ran to the cave? God's like, get your hiney out there.
Well, what happened in the last election cycle with 30 million Christians not even voting?
Not voting. 30 million Christians. And they're like, can you believe it that, everything's going to pot? Can you believe that Christian values are disappearing? And I actually see it as one of the gravest sins, because I mean, I know you probably have had this thought. We all have as Christians, true Christians, where you go, am I responsible for the people that I didn't convert, right? And not convert, not like a forcing
Witness
way,
to.
but witness, right? Am I responsible for the people that I didn't witness to? And I think that is 100% true. And I think that falls on everybody who's old, that didn't move up in their careers, that didn't get in a position where, guess what? God's not in school anymore. You know how many more kids are growing up now that are atheists and that will die atheists?
Well, I think that
You know
comes
how many
down to a
millions?
society as a whole, you
Yeah.
know, because it's like
It's
if
Christendom
you,
in total.
you have kind of this, like goes back to, you can't be upset when there hasn't been done anything. And nothing has been done. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm losing my words. I'm not, English isn't my strong suit.
Second language.
But yeah, it's just like, I love my parents to death, but they just weren't raised to vote, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't even know if my grandparents really did. And I don't fault them for it, but now I couldn't imagine not voting. Like, you know, I vote in the primaries. I vote in the, you know,
See,
I
I
vote
feel-
in the general. Like,
I'm the opposite. I'm just like, it means nothing. It's all rigged. And then I go,
Well, I know-
and then I go vote. And I'm just like, why am I doing this?
I know it means nothing too, but on the off chance that
It
my
does,
vote
yeah.
counts, I
Yeah.
do it. So
And then Trump won.
It-
We're like, okay,
I was like, huh.
it kind of works.
But yeah, it's just the fact. It's like, you know, and I know people are like, oh, I don't want to choose the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
But it's like, I just see it as an excuse. Like, get out and just do it.
Well,
Like, I mean, come on.
and how about even more than that? How about the concept of like, for instance, shaming or in saying Ben Carson shouldn't do that. He's Adventist.
Yeah,
What do
like
you-
that's bullcrap.
What do you mean though?
Yeah.
Like, tell me what you mean. Like, do you think getting powerful and all these things are bad?
So you mean to tell me that you are not Ben Carson, but you can tell him whether Christ told him to run or not?
Yeah.
Like,
so
you are the moral high ground.
because you're a loser and you've never done anything with your life and you've converted less than 100 people. You're telling him God has not told him to convert millions.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I'm not saying that you're going to be judged on that, but you will. And it's not
Yeah.
going to end well for you.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I'm glad Ben Carson didn't win. Okay.
No, I'm not a big Ben Carson fan, by the way.
You know?
We've been defending him, but that's on the basis of Christianity, not
Yeah.
on his policies.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
really like his policies, but
He was too
you know,
nice.
he did. I don't think he had the really the strong hand
He was like,
that,
let's give everybody health care. We're like, that's great, Ben, but no.
and not Ben Shapiro, because
Oh,
he would
yeah.
never ever say that.
He would never.
But anyway, no, I it's just the aspect. Like, I love using the example of the Waldenses. You know, back in, I don't know what time period they were in, but when the
Dark
the,
Ages.
the Dark Ages, when the Catholic Church was really suppressing the
Free speech.
Europe at the time, free speech, yeah, you could say, and the Waldenses' entire, you know, mission in life was biblical based, and it was to spread the gospel. But it was such a trying time that they would literally be raised from birth to memorize whole books of the Bible that they could get their hands on, and then they would go to university. Like, they wouldn't just, like, you know, sit in their monasteries or, like, keep all the information within the Waldenses. They would go to, you know,
Schools, universities.
some of the highest universities
Yeah.
in the world, and they become doctors, they become lawyers, they become, like, tradespeople, and other people going to these universities would be like, hey, there's something different about these people, and over time, you know, some of them would reach out and be like, hey, what's different? And then they would build a relationship, and then end
have
up
a
sharing
little
the gospel.
Bible in their a piece of the Bible
Yeah.
in their shirt
Yeah.
pocket and give it to people.
But my point is, they weren't raised to become a doctor or become a lawyer or whatever. They were raised to be witnesses.
Yeah.
Like, that was their
yeah.
whole entire purpose in life.
And they went to go be those things
Yeah.
to have influence,
Yeah.
right? They didn't
Yep.
just stay in the mountains and be like, all right, now we're good. We're Christians. Huh? Everybody else
Yeah.
going to hell. You know?
Not only would they not have influence, but they also would have been, that it just would have been really targeted because, that's kind of being. They were very oppressed, so it wasn't like an outward thing that they could just be like monks or something.
Yeah.
They had to be in secret, but at the same time, I think I like to think that even if they weren't being oppressed on the grand scheme of things, they would have done the same thing. Like go to where the people are that you're trying to witness to.
Yeah.
And do what they're doing so that you can be relatable.
Yep.
I think that's the idea. It's like even in our our church, it's like, my life experiences, I'm talking in general, but my life experiences, your life experiences, we're not necessarily going to be able to reach the same people.
Yeah.
We're, we've gone through life experiences that may be similar to somebody else, but not a third person.
Yeah. Yep.
And so in theory, we'll be able to more easy witness to said person that we've gone through similar life experiences, because we're like, oh, they understand me. They're not judging me. They've been through these hard times. They've been through this, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, I think that's kind of like going back to the Waldensi point, is they did what these other people did, so there was a respect there.
And I think also, too, is that, one thing that's lost is that, for instance, we can get people on board with like, okay, you need to become this, so that way you can witness to a person, another person, right? And just keep going. But one of the most powerful things we see from John Wycliffe is leverage. And the leverage of when you're respected and everybody goes, yeah, no, John Wycliffe, he's a dog. Like that guy, he was one of those prominent men in the nation. And what does he say? He says, Christ is king, right? Yeah. Hey, everybody, here's Bibles. Like let's convert. And then 50% converted. Now, I know that's an Ellen G. White number, so we might have to verify that.
We'll look that up.
But either way, it was mass conversions. Conversions. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, hopefully we're not getting a lot of noise.
Male feedback.
Yeah. Women, they just keep talking. It's okay. That's why we love them. Let's see. So yeah, anyway, I kind of broke my train of thought, but I'm back. There is kind of a really good debate between responsibility of Christians in general, and then also not only that, but oh my goodness. Hey Cody, could you go shut the door up there real quick?
What are they doing?
I don't know. They're beating on stuff, and they literally are standing right there. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Man, they are noisy creatures. I mean, I've never even heard. I was like, is the house coming down?
All right.
Well, hey.
I got to make a note to edit that out.
Yeah, yep. Write down the time if you need.
GPT will give it to me later.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. But no, just kind of back to the overarching point is that Christians have a responsibility to leverage that which they're given. And God has given you your IQ. If your IQ's 80, yeah, God has not called you to be a doctor. You see what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And then God, what does he say?
That's based.
He's created you in the womb, right? Which means your genetics, my guy. Like I said. Now, guess what? If God has given you a 130 IQ, you have a lot of responsibility. So go take an IQ test and see what your responsibility is, ladies and gentlemen. But no, I mean, genuinely, like, it's...
I have less IQ, so my responsibility isn't that high.
That's
I'm
fake
like a
news.
73.
No, you're not. That's fake news, ladies and gentlemen. Women, if you're here, we got a single guy with a high IQ. He's looking to mate.
Oh, my Lord.
He's trying to follow the commandment, be fruitful and multiply.
I mean, after marriage, but,
after
you're not wrong.
Be fruitful and multiply.
I want 10 kids, by the way. No,
kids?
not quite that many.
I would love to have 10.
I do want at least 6, though.
Minimum.
At least 6.
I have a rule. It's got to be minimum of 3 boys, minimum, and 2 girls. So if I have like a string of 6 boys, we got to keep having kids till I get 2 girls. Or if I have 4 girls in a row, keep having till I have 3 boys.
That's crazy. I just want 6 kids.
6, it doesn't matter the arrangement.
Nah. I do want at least 1 boy though. 1 boy.
Okay, so if you have 6 girls, you're like, keep going.
Yep.
No, I would.
It's gonna be like Candace. Candace said that her pregnancy is a mindset at this point. She's like, I've just been pregnant for 4 years straight.
That's awesome.
She's just like, it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, that's one thing that I was very sheltered from the Catholic kind of ideals at a young age. So that's one thing I do I respect very, very much of the Catholics is that their big focus on it's actually made me think a little bit about the concept of birth control just in general, if it's moral or not. And there were actually some really conservative Adventists that used to that believed it was wrong and it's a sin. The most conservatives typically do, Cody. I don't know if you're familiar. I would say the people, but we're on a podcast. And I was always, everybody, like, at least in our area, would be like, they're crazy, they're out of their minds. And I was like, yeah, they're out of their minds because I was 14. But now I'm like, they might have been based. What are they based? I'm going to have to think about that.
You're going to have to tell me who you're thinking of.
I'm a bunch of them.
Oh, okay. I'm not.
This is not just like.
I know we've talked about it before.
Yeah, it's not just like two people. But no, and it's very widespread in all of Catholicism, which is the concept of, are you God?
Mormonism, apparently.
I
don't know about
Mormonism
the God.
too?
I don't know about the God. They had a lot of kids, bro.
Yeah, but is it because of faith?
No, it's just
so
the multiple
women.
wives.
Yeah, they got multiple ovens. You can cook a lot of pies.
I don't know if it's faith, but I thought it was. I thought for some reason they didn't believe in it either. But
that's what Andrew Tate says. Andrew's just like, he's like, I need a bunch of ovens to be working at once.
Oh, my
I'm
Lord.
like, oh, I mean, he's gonna have an army, to be fair. But no, I do. I mean, I'm genuinely curious. Like, I'd have to look at it biblically. I mean, I understand because, I mean, there's no argument. There was no such thing as condoms in the Bible. So, I mean.
Yeah, what are they going to put snake skin over the wiener or something? Yeah,
exactly. That would. Just get fanged. You're just like, it's over. Tell my love with the love. No.
That's haram.
But no, that's the thing though. That's kind of what you're doing.
Well, I was talking more about the snake skin, but
that is kind of haram.
Yeah.
It's just an intestine, I guess, blown up. That's kind of.
Let's not get it.
That's haram. You know what, Cody? This is haram. Just the fact that me and you got to talk about this and be like, that's weird as hell. We're like, that might be a sin. But no, I mean, genuinely, I do think that you are playing God. Can you be God?
Thou shalt not have idols.
Yeah, in that case, you're your own idol, right? Oh no. I'm so, dude, we're ruining it for our future wives. They're going to watch this and they'll be like,
hey, but if you want kids, hit us up.
Hit us up. No, I mean, genuinely, it is a genuine kind of thing, which is you saying, oh, I'm not ready for this. You see what I'm saying?
No, I get it.
The
I
argument?
just don't know if it's right. I get the argument.
Because the argument is, no, I know when it's ready to reproduce, right? It's like, well, do you? Right? And then how about the dudes that get snipped? They are cucked. That's haram. That's body deforming. You're deforming your own body. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people have been snipped. I'm sorry. You might not go to heaven. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, but genuinely, I do think that it is that is wrong.
You know what? Here's a really side tangent, and it's completely irrelevant. But I just thought of it. And it's kind of funny that in our friend group, they really get perturbed when I say their pets aren't going to heaven. They're specific, like not that animals won't be in heaven, but that their specific pet won't be in heaven. And I don't know. I don't think so because they don't have free will, and I don't know.
Yeah.
They might be. Who knows? But I really harp on the idea that they're not going to be, and it really gets them
just to get them going.
It gets a lot of them pretty perturbed.
They're like, what are you talking about? We're like, you're just being emotional.
It's okay.
Oh, no.
I've heard this before. Nothing new.
That's terrible.
But, yeah, now I kind of just do it to get under their skin. But.
Yeah, because for me, I mean, I think about that from the perspective of like, all right, that's out of my control, right? I'm not going to worry about that. I feel like
it doesn't bother if they are there or if they're not.
Be honest, it's almost all female, isn't it? It gets upset.
It is all female.
Okay, it's like 100%. Okay. I was gonna say like maybe 90, but it's 100. No, I think that's a very emotional.
At least that I can think of. I'm pretty sure it is all female.
It's a very emotional base, which makes sense. I mean, they love their animals. They care about things. Like women are very caring. I like animals.
I like animals, and
yeah, they're cool.
They make me upset sometimes, but
that's true.
I don't beat them.
Yeah,
I've never beaten an animal.
Never. I haven't beaten an animal. I mean, I've shot animals, like,
I shot them to put them out of their misery, poor things.
was gonna bring up the
Oh, here
pigeon.
we go. I actually
pigeon.
forgot about that story, but you tell the story.
Okay.
And it was for humane purposes
All right.
that I did what I did.
So we saw this beautiful white pigeon, and then this black. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Now you gotta give where the story was.
So we're in Phoenix. We're going to GYC, which is Generation Youth for Christ, man. We were base kids. And so we're walking. We're making our way downtown, and we see like this little falcon on top of. At first, I didn't know what it was. It was a falcon on top of another bird, and when we got closer, we could see it was a pigeon, and it had just eaten the back of its head open, and it's just like it's gonna like eat its brains out, I guess. Really horrific kind of scene there, and
It was not doing well.
It was not doing well. So we shoo away the falcon. Did we starve the falcon? Should I feel bad? Did he just do it to another pigeon? We don't know. Anyway, pigeon. The falcon flies off. The pigeon's a little like wobbly, because it's gotten half its brains eaten out. And so anyway,
It turned into a special pigeon.
it was a freckled pigeon. If you get the reference, you know what I'm talking about. Theo Vaughn. Anyway.
No, that wasn't the Candace.
Was it?
No, it
Oh,
wasn't.
okay. But it was Theo Vaughn. So anyway,
There's another one.
Cody kind of comes up and it's like, all right, what do we do? I think we were with another friend too. I forget.
No, it was just us at
It
the
was
time.
just us at that
yeah.
time? Okay. So anyway, he picks up a big rock. And he does what a man's supposed to do. He put it out of its misery. He smashed that thing.
I mean, I felt horrible. Like, I felt terrible. But I was raised that, like, you can't let something,
Suffer.
you can't let it suffer. And then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we should have brought, nursed it back to health. The stinking pigeon's brains were just like,
Eaten.
yeah. And the remainder were just kind of like hanging out. And
it was pretty bad.
it wasn't coming back.
It was not. It was,
And so we just squished it.
and then we got back when our friends were doing CPR on it. Now I'm just kidding.
It's like one of the little two-finger.
No, it was a horrific scene. But either way, you did what you had to do. You made it happen.
That's how you're supposed to do CPR
On babies. I literally was
like
just thinking that.
2 fingers.
Yep. I was thinking about it in class.
Yeah.
You were like,
And they also say if you aren't breaking the baby's ribs,
okay.
it's probably fine because their ribs are much more malleable. But
Yeah.
on grown adults, if you're not breaking ribs, you're doing it wrong.
Huh.
That's what they say.
You just got to go wild.
Yeah. You literally have to feel like popping. Yeah. Now, for the nurses and the doctors out there,
We're
you
not.
can correct me, okay?
We're not doctors.
But I have taken multiple CPR classes, and that's what they've told me
Okay.
each time.
Hey, bro.
okay? So,
I've taken it a couple times.
for
I
the
don't remember.
record, my CPR certification is now expired because it's been over 2 years.
So the science
But-
may have changed since COVID.
Because I know for a while with CPR they would say like mouth, like do the whole mouth thing, and then last
Now it's
time I
not
went, they were
good.
like, no, don't
Yeah.
even do the mouth.
Well,
thing.
now the most important thing is to check for COVID.
no,
they're
you
passed
gotta
out.
you gotta check their pronouns.
Oh, that's what it
You
is.
gotta like
Check their
find
wallet.
their little pronoun.
They, them, and you say, "Can I touch you? Do you consent to being touched?" They, and then they kind of.
If they're a they them, you just leave them. That's wrong. That's terrible. I apologize. You
Oh,
don't
no.
do that.
That's
You
not.
save anyone.
I'm sorry, Jesus. That was terrible.
That
That
was
was awful. But it happens.
That's all the joke, and I couldn't help
You couldn't.
myself.
You couldn't. You know what? As they say, send them a pastor. Hope they convert. We're doing our part.
Oh, throwback. What's that? Like episode 5 or 6?
Yeah,
or
it
something?
was-
Maybe 3.
One of those where I was get
Episode
blinded
3,
by the
I think.
LEDs, and I was
Yeah.
like, if.
Like I am right now. I swear. I have like this little box LED with no diffuser, and if I close my eyes, I'll just see the like little LED dots just seared into my retina.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. When Cody closes his eyes, just gospel hymns start playing. Oh, man, this is good.
This episode brings a lot of our
Old
our
podcast.
old podcast
Yeah.
days memories.
Oh, I like it, man. I think it is, but kind of to I guess synopsis is I do think it's important for Christians to have influence, and I do believe that it's really, really important to leverage it. Not to just be like, hey, Cody, do you believe in Jesus? Like that's important, right? Don't do it that way, by the way. That's crazy. If you just do that to a they, them, they will probably attack.
Also, maybe refrain from just going on the street and preaching everybody's going to hell if they don't repent.
Can I defend those guys real quick?
Go for it.
Okay. I laugh so hard when I see the massive signs that say Muhammad was a pedophile, and they're like marching around. And I just see all these liberal white women. The Muslims don't care at all. I feel like they're also laughing, like me. But then these liberal white, they're women. They think they're they-thems. And they come up and they're like just screeching. And then they like, and it's just, to me, I'm just dying. Every time I literally think about it, I'm just crying laughing.
To be fair, they're doing something. The street preachers.
They're getting attention.
Yeah.
But it brought joy to my heart, and joy is good medicine. So they're spreading good medicine. No, I don't know. I just think that's
a stretch.
It's an approach.
But I cannot tell you what you are or aren't feeling.
Dude, I might be a woman next week, guys. We'll see. I might come out. I might end up choosing hell. I'm just kidding. You can't go to heaven if you choose a different gender, right? That's another episode.
That is another topic.
We'll get into it later, but I mean, genuinely, there's a lot of questions. So, in synopsis, you have a responsibility. Last night, I told Cody this, but I woke up from a dream. It was like 11:30, 12 at night, and I just was there, and then I was just I had this anxiety just come over me, and it was like, I need to be doing more, right? And I just, and all these massive individuals came to my mind, and I'm just like, man, the weight of what some of these guys have done under the Christian flag is just it's incredible. So anyway, and also it came to me of all these heretics. I'm going to call them heretics. I want to bring that word back. I love the word heretics. But these heretics that have come out in it's gonna make me angry. I probably shouldn't talk about it. But it was a podcast I was watching. It was a guy going over the crusades, and he was basically just demeaning every part about Christianity spreading. That's all it was. It was all about they were practically failures, and most things that the church does is failures, and they're just a bunch of Christians that wanted to spread, and basically how disgusting is that, and it was just the most demeaning thing I've ever heard in my life, and the podcast host was just eating it up, and I was like, dude. Anyway, I was getting heated. My mom's like, "What's going on?" I was getting mad. I was listening to it in my headphones.
What podcast was that?
I have to send it to you. It was a historian. I say historian because he's just a Satanist, but no, he's not. But I mean, he might be. He wasn't actually. He was British.
Oh,
he was British, tattooed. He looked like a crusader. I was like, I actually saw the episode title and I was like, "Ooh, crusades! This guy looks like a crusader." I was like, "This is gonna be awesome." Anyway, it just made me so angry, and yet the thing that most irritates me about most things in history is people trying to shrink an event. They're uninterested. That's actually a really uninteresting part. There wasn't much to it. It's do you understand what it takes and what it means to someone if they say, I'm going to pick up what I have, I'm going to go to another side of the world, I'm going to travel for months, I'm going to walk. Cody, you want to go, let's walk to... What are they saying in Mexico? Let's walk there. We get our stuff and we walk the whole way down. We're like, who are we fighting?
Dude, I complain when I go hiking for 30 miles in a weekend,
I talked about doing golf, and Cody's like, I'm not carrying my bag.
Okay, for the record, you should go pick up my bag and feel how heavy that thing is. I don't want to... I can do it if I have to, but I'm not going to willingly do that.
Think about the Crusaders, bro.
It goes back to David Goggins. He's probably onto something. Who's going to carry the boats?
David Goggins, if he heard
Who's going to carry the golf bags?
Who's going to carry the golf carts?
Yeah.
He's out of his mind. But no. Anyway, it's to me, that's a very irritating thing when people are uninterested. I'm like, you're not uninterested. You're just not an interesting person. You also don't have an intrinsic view of events and history, because what it takes for a person to feel that and say, I'm going to go to another part of the world and probably die, that's pretty crazy. And not only that, but, we can get into the Crusades in another episode, but, Cody, I want to hear your opinion on this. Crusades happen, okay? Spain is Muslim. We've seen this across history. We now have, a post 1,000-year view, right? The church defends. They push the Muslims out of Spain. Those 40 million people or so, give or take, between Portugal, Spain, and parts of Morocco and southern France, are now Christian. Okay, Cody? Does that mean more people are going to heaven? Then all of them being Muslim, right? Because same thing with Christian Libya, right? Same thing with Christian Syria. Now 90% or more are Muslim. They do not believe Christ is their Lord and Savior. See what I'm saying?
I mean, there's your answer. I mean,
Cody, are you insinuating the Crusades were a good thing?
I didn't say that, okay? But
No, but I'm just
the pathway to heaven is accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior.
Mhm.
If you don't do that,
you're done.
then you're not going to heaven. Now, do Muslims believe in heaven?
They believe in heaven, 72 virgins, but that's
Well,
through the Prophet Muhammad and Allah,
Yeah, but
the haram. But I still that word for them. But no, I mean that's my when I look at that and I go, okay, fine. Let's say I believe that Christ, especially if you know him, he can work really specifically on your own heart. Like, I don't necessarily think that, well, because he goes to Mass every Sunday, he's going to heaven. Or because he goes to church every Sunday or Saturday, he's going to heaven. Like, no, that's not how it works, right? You know, it says that I am the only way, you know, John 3:16. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So I think that's a very personal relationship. So my opinion, at least my thought process is, you have a whole generation of people, generations, 1,000 years of people who grew up Muslim, 90%. Yes, maybe we did convert 5%, you know, or whatnot, but 90% were born and they died without knowing Christ. Okay? In Spain, millions of people over the past 1,000 years have been born. They go to church on Sunday. They at least know of Christ. They know of his sacrifice, right? They know of the story, and isn't that a pathway in which Christ can then work on your heart? No. Basically, are you going to come to Christ by going to any one of the Christian denominations, church on Sunday, Saturday, Friday night, doesn't matter, or going to a mosque? To me, it's just like it's like a duh thing, right? It's like, all right, there's millions of Christians here now. If the Crusades didn't happen, they would all be Muslim for 1,000 years. 1,000 years. I'm not saying. Also, I'm not saying that the Christians should all get swords and go to the Middle East. I'm actually, if you listen to my politics,
that's exactly what people are trying to do right now.
Yeah.
Well, we're trying to pay to get. We're trying to get to the U.S. to send swords to the
Israelis.
Middle East.
Yeah, we're kind of trying to just convert everybody to Satanism, but you know, I'm against that. like, let's not do that.
Let's call that evil because it's evil.
Yeah. Also, what are we doing on time? Is it crazy?
We're almost an hour, bro.
Holy crap! Okay.
This will be our longest episode.
Amen.
I believe.
Let's go.
Dude,
we start going on Christianity. We just roll.
we were gonna talk. Yeah, we're gonna talk about our other stuff, but we didn't.
No.
But
okay.
I think this was a solid episode.
I think it was awesome.
You keep going. We are running low on battery, I think.
Yeah, real quick. We'll just go over.
That one's still going, but
okay.
it is, I see a red marker. So
all right, I tell you what. We'll just real quick. Romania. Romania had its elections a little bit ago.
In November,
a couple of months ago, and they decide to annul the election because Russian influence. They didn't like the guy who won. It was a nationalist who won by a lot.
They claimed he was a far right.
Yes, a far right Putin Russian sympathizer, because they tracked like $200,000 to some Facebook ad campaign or something. So okay, fine. Now they're redoing elections, right? Because if you don't win an election, if you're in a democracy and you're the government, if the person you don't like if you don't like the person who wins, just get rid of the election and have another one. Like, just keep having it to you.
Just declare martial law, and then you don't need elections.
You could just shoot the people, anybody you disagree with. I mean, that's democracy. That's EU democracy, right? So
just send them to the front lines.
Oh, that's what they're doing in Ukraine. But no, but it actually gets worse. Now the election comes up. He's leading in all the polls. Looks like he's going to win again. So now they're like, oh, you're not allowed to run. Now he's banned from running. He's banned from running. The country of Romania says, we're done with it. We want to follow our brothers and sisters in Slovakia and Hungary who have already done this. They've gone nationalist, and they're saying, the government's now saying, oh, no, you're not allowed to run because of corruption. He's not in government. I don't understand that. So anyway, he also was allowed to run the first time. He only won, and then you're like, it was Russian influence. And then now he's running again, because he won, and you're like, no, that doesn't count. It's like, you people, if you believe you're the worst version. I prefer Putin. I prefer Joseph Stalin. I prefer Adolf Hitler over the EU. And the main reason for why is we all know what's up. If Joseph Stalin calls you into his office because you announced your presidency against him, you're done. Right? If you run against Putin, you're probably going to get thrown in jail. If you run against Adolf Hitler and you're bad-mouthing him, you're probably going to jail. That's how it works. Everybody knows that. In the EU, they're like, oh, well, we have freedom. We have freedom. Unless you say something we don't like. And then if you say you don't have a democracy, they deny it. They're like, what do you mean? We have the best of democracy. We have freedom of speech. How dare you say that? It's like, you're gaslighting me? Like, no, you're not allowing this guy to run because he's going to win. He already won. You got rid of the election. Now you're banning him from running. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. They banned the parties they don't want. They did to the AFD as well. The AFD gained massive seats. The EU Parliament's like, oh, you're not allowed to participate because you won. We don't. It's just,
how mad does this make you, Caleb?
It makes me so angry. It's just like, just say you're fascist. Just say it. Just say you're fascist, you're weak, and you're disgusting people, and then I'll be happy. That's all they have to do. The EU has to say we're a bunch of fags. We are communists, and we like killing Christians, and I'll be like, oh, okay, they're truthful. All right, okay. But yeah, no. Anyway, that's genuinely their agenda. I completely despise the EU. They make me beyond angry, only because Europe was a brilliant part of civilization. They built every major thing. If you go on GeoGuessr and you get placed in the world, if you look around and stuff's built, you're like, oh, this must have been European at some point. Sorry, not sorry. So that's the part that irritates me, is that you see the glory of the past and of what Christian Europeans built, and now it's like they're just completely cucking to the rest of the world. They're in self-destruct mode. It's Satanism. I mean, that's all it is. It's I mean, good ideas prosper and multiply, and bad ideas self-destruct. I mean, that's the concept of sin, right? We are sinful, therefore we die. If we were not sinful, we would not die. I mean, I'm genuine. I mean, that's the concept, and we are sinful, and therefore, we must die. Romans goes into that pretty well, but yeah, I mean, this is the concept, and bad ideas will lead to destruction. And there's a lot of them. Wide is the gate to destruction. Narrow is the path to heaven, and to good ideas, and be fruitful and multiply, right? Subdue the earth. This is a good idea. These are ideas that will prosper. These are ideas that built the greatest civilization ever known to Earth. This is the ideas that if you go on GeoGuessr and you land, you can see buildings. And they're from way long ago, because we haven't built much in the past 100 years because we've turned from God. But and if you go to places where that wasn't a key, where they didn't have Christianity at the front of their minds for the past 1,000 years, it's a dirt. It's a step. The only exception to the rule, I know I have to still accept Asia, they're high performers. Japan and China have the highest IQs in the world. I'm behind them. It's sad. European supremacy is not real, by the way.
Bro.
The Koreans and the Japanese and the Chinese, they win.
If we make a short out of you talking about your IQ, you're going to get lit up in the comments.
I'm going to get destroyed. I'm going to get destroyed, bro.
So that's what I'm going to do.
Dude, I mean, make it, destroy me.
Oh,
I've taken a test, and my kid's problem. I mean, it's just fact, right? Like if you're going to take an average of me and a bunch of people that look like me and take an average of little Japanese guys win on IQ on average. Sorry, it's what it is. I love how if you say that, it's fine because I'm demeaning whites. But as soon as I say that about other people, these liberal they-thems freak out because facts don't care about your feelings. Get out of here. Should that be the end? No, I'm just kidding.
The only good thing he ever said.
Anyway, Christ is king. If you're interested in the GeoGuessr, I would love for you guys to try and just see. I do like the challenge. The newest challenge is you drop in India, and if you see trash, you lose. Like you done. I've never seen a person go more than one play. Every single time they drop in, they're immediately. We should do that live. We should do it live.
Live stream.
We should do a live stream. It'd be like GeoGuessr. Let's see. We should call it. No, we can't call it that. Anyway, Pajit's World. This episode's going off the rails. But
Quick.
No. Anyway, like I said, no. I anything you want to add before we do wrap up here, Cody?
I like your point. Is as we have as Christians we have a moral obligation to. I see it as, point out what's evil. Mm-hmm. Call evil for evil. Call good for good. Evil's evil. Good is good.
I like that. Be truthful. If you deny Christ in front of people, he will deny you. I think our leaders need to remember that. And I think our church leaders need to remember that, especially. I think the Catholics, I think the Protestants, I think the Orthodox, everybody needs to remember that. I mean, we all should think that. If you deny Christ in front of others, he will deny you. And that's one of the things that I actually love about this podcast is that we are openly Christian. Like if anybody knows who we are Christian. And I love that. We're unapologetic. We need less apologies, more action. Yep. Let's do it. Apologies to action. That should be the next slogan of a political campaign at some point.
There you go.
Anyway.
I like that. Yeah. All right.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you. Like, share, comment. If you have anything that you want us to cover in the next episode, we literally covered like 2 of 8 things that we wanted to, and we're like an hour 20 in. So anyway, we're really rolling. Like, share, comment. Anything you want to add, Cody, before we dip?
Nope. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.